Standard 4th, subject English. No formalities, please. Part 1. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to write a formal letter, and let's begin with the lesson. The students of class 4 greeted their teacher, Mrs. Desai, before they sat down. It was time for their English lesson. Shall we bring out our Balbharti textbook, teacher? Asked Shruti. The students greeted the teacher when she entered the classroom. What is the name of their teacher? Mrs. Desai. As you all do when your teacher enters the class. Means you all greet your teacher when she enters the class. Shruti, one of the students, took permission from her teacher to take out the Balbharti textbook. Not now, said the teacher. We are going to learn letter writing today. Some special type of letters. Come here, Javed and Nisha. Please distribute these notebooks. Mrs. Desai, the teacher, asked two students from the class to distribute the notebooks to the students, and she informed the students that they are going to learn today some special type of letter. And while they give out the books, continued Mrs. Desai, let me give you some good news. The students were all ears now. The teacher announced with a smile, new arrivals in the library and plenty of them. Story books of every kind, informative books with lovely pictures, books of puzzles, jokes, all have been displayed in the library. So, you will know which ones to ask for the next time you are in the library. When Javed and Nisha were distributing the notebooks to the students in the class, the teacher gave them good news. The students were eager to listen to their teacher. The announcement made by Mrs. Desai, their teacher, she smiled and said, new arrivals in the library means new books in the library and plenty of them, many more of them, informative books. Books with lovely pictures, books of puzzles, jokes have been displayed in the library. So whenever they will visit the library, they can see and ask for which they want. Here are some of the books which had new arrivals in the library. As Mrs. Desai had announced the class, some of the facts book, informative books, story books, puzzle books, and various other kinds of books had been launched in the library. Oh, lovely! I can hardly wait, were some of the eager responses to this piece of news, where all were excited except one. All the students showed their expression when teacher announced about the new arrival in the library. What do you mean by eager? Eager means strongly wanting to do something. And responses? An answer or reaction to something. Or all the students were very much excited to visit the library. What's the use? Complained Felix. We have only one library period in a week, and hardly for half an hour too. Just when the story gets interesting, we have to leave the book and go back to class. Yeah, Felix complained, "What is the use? We have only one library period in a week, and when the story comes to an end and when it is interesting, period finishes and we have to go back to the class." So he was expressing his feeling to the teacher, and he was not happy for one period of library in a week. Now Varsha joined in to say, "For 2 weeks I have been waiting to know what happened to the Pied Piper of Hamelin. There was his holiday last Thursday and we missed the library period." Now Varsha joined and said she had been eagerly waiting to know what would have happened in the story Pied Piper Hamelin. It is a famous story, and from this, students, you can make out the students of class 4 were eagerly waiting for the library books, for the library period. Means they had the enthusiasm of reading. Mrs. Desai realized that what her students said was perfectly true. She decided to request the principal to allow a home issue facility for class 4. After all, they were big enough to look after the books they took home. "Hey, wait," thought Mrs. Desai. "There's a better way to do it. Why not let the students themselves write a letter of request to the principal?" After all, that was what she had planned to teach that day: how to write polite, formal letters. From this paragraph, students, you can make out what Mrs. Desai had planned to teach the students and was a real situation. Mrs. Desai was listening to all the problems, grievances of the students, and she understood and realized what students said was perfectly true. And she thought of teaching them a proper, polite, formal letter, and that was the situation created in the classroom. What an opportunity, a good subject for a formal letter, and of course, a real situation would make the learning more effective and interesting. When Mrs. Desai suggested this to her class, they were very excited. Without losing much time, Mrs. Desai began to teach her class how to write a formal letter. Students, a beautiful idea came to Mrs. Desai's mind, and what she had planned to teach a formal letter, a request letter to the principal. Now, when Mrs. Desai was thinking a home issue for class 4, a better idea with intention, and let's write formal letter in a polite way. This is a real situation, and now we'll write a formal letter without losing much time. And Mr. Desai started teaching them how to write a formal letter. The sender's address and date should be written in the upper right corner of the page. She thought the next step is to write the name or post of the receiver near the left margin, then write his or her address below that. Students, sender's address and date should be written in upper right corner of the page. We start the address and date, and next to the left margin we write receiver's name and address. These two things Mrs. Desai taught the class. Like see here, at the right hand corner it is written Pragati Vidyalay, Pustak Marg, Vachanpur, and the date. And to the left hand margin to the receiver's address was to the principal, Pragati Vidyalay, Pustak Marg, Vachanpur. Here it is written sender's address and the receiver's name and address. After that, you must write the subject of the letter in short below receiver's address. She further instructed. That's something new, remarked Sharon. We do not mention a subject in our friendly letters, do we? Yeah, Mrs. Desai taught this class. Subject is the main part of the letter. What you want to say or convey the message to the receiver in short. And Sharon raised the question that we do not write subject in the friendly letter, do we? As you can see over here, teacher has written subject, a request for home issue facility. Of course not, said Mrs. Desai. What do we do next, teacher? Shruti wanted to know. You address the receiver, writing, Dear Sir or Dear Madam. Remember, the rest of the letter also should be written in a polite language, right to the point, Mrs. Desai explained. Now comes salutation. We are writing to, if we are writing to a male, we write Dear Sir, or if we are writing to a female, we write Dear Madam. It should be written in a polite way. This part is called salutation. Dear Madam or Sir is called salutation, students. After a number of cancellation and scribbling, the students of class 4 written a perfect letter to the principal. At the right hand corner, they written their address as Pragati Vidyalay, Pustak Marg, Vachanpur, and the date. Next, they written the receiver's address to the principal, Pragati Vidyalay, Pustak Marga, Vachanpur. Then they written the subject, request for the home issue facility. After that, they have mentioned the salutation as the principal is a female. So, dear madam, we, the students of class 4, have a request. Our English teacher, Mrs. Desai, has informed us about many new books that have arrived in our school library. We are eager to read them. However, it is not possible for us to finish reading a book during the library period, which is only once a week. May we have your kind permission, madam, to take books for home reading? We promise that we shall take utmost care of the books and return them on time. This is the body of the letter. Finally, they written, Yours faithfully, all students of class 4. Students, this is called a formal letter. And should we end it with yours lovingly? Asked Renu. Oh no, said teacher. You can write that to your friends or parents or even to me. But when you are writing as a student to the principal, you may write yours faithfully or sincerely. Do not forget to thank the receiver appropriately before you close the letter. Come on. Teacher taught all the steps to the students how to write a formal letter in a polite way. At the end, instead of writing your lovingly, when we are writing a formal letter, we write yours faithfully or yours sincerely, students. And we write your lovingly only to our friends and relatives or to our parents. Write meanings of displayed, arranged where people can see them. Second, issue, the act of giving someone something officially. Third, facility, a service provided for a particular purpose. Fourth, effective, successful at achieving the result you wish. Fifth, utmost, greatest.